So what is the application where generally we use? We already discussed, but again I will take it through. So I have taken only microprocessor and microcontroller. So if you see the applications, which what type of applications we generally use means general computing. So laptop, desktop, or gaming, web browsing, document creation, etc. will be used on microprocessor, means on PC. Basically, you can see, and microcontroller dedicated to specific task. So you will have some camera, right? Camera hardware, washing machine, refrigerator, AC. There you will use microcontroller. So specific task, you are doing only specific task with these devices. Internal structure, we already seen the internal memory and IO device are externally connected to CPU, and here all are connected internally. Okay, cost wise, if you see, then microprocessor cost is obviously high and microcontroller cost is low. Power consumption is high here, but here low. RAM, again, RAM is more powerful RAM. Here you have huge size RAM. Here very small RAM, tiny RAM. Okay, this is the major differences actually you will get out of it. And this is another one. Memory always differentiates a lot. Okay, internal memory. Here you have memories in terabytes. Here you have in MBs only. That too not in hundreds, 2 MB, 3 MB, 5 MB. Okay, and peripherals, USB, UART kind of high speed Ethernet. So all these are the peripherals supported by your microprocessor. And here you have onboard peripherals like SPI, I2C, UART, onboard peripherals, and registers. So you may have 32-bit systems, 64-bit systems, right? So registers also are that size only. So how can you say register are that size means? Because when I say 32-bit system, let me tell you this. 32-bit system means the bus, whatever bus is connected from CPU to your memory, right? So those are 32 lines here. So at a time, 32 bits can be carried. So on this 32 line, at a time, your bus can carry 32 bits. So when it can carry 32 bits, so that is 32-bit system. When the capacity of your bus is to carry 64 bits, capacity of bus to carry 64 bits, then that is 64-bit system. Okay, and here you have variant 8-bit, 16 and 32-bit. Okay, microcontroller vendors. So who will provide these chips? SoC, I mean, sorry, yeah, you can say IC. Who will provide this? Intel and AMD in case of microprocessor, and in case of your microcontroller, Texas, ST Microelectronics, right? Then Atmel Microchip. These companies will provide. Okay, hope you understood the differences. And SoC, anyway, that SoC is hybrid of this. You have nowadays you can see 8 GB of RAM in your phone. If you say 8 GB of RAM and some 64 GB or 128 GB, your hard no, internal memory, right? You have powerful GPUs, and all are packed into a single IC. Okay. So what is the difference between firmware and software? So in olden days, uh, that this terminology makes sense, firmware and software, but nowadays it doesn't make sense. Everything is software, but still we are following with those terminologies. So what is firmware means? That is also a software, but so once you write this software on the memory, then it's very difficult to erase that software. So that software is firm, it's very difficult to erase. That's why that is firmware. But nowadays you may have seen that I will get upgrade, so I can upgrade to latest software, because you have huge memory. So in your microcontroller also nowadays we are coming up with means market is, our industries are coming up with uh, means more memory size. So when you have more memory, so you can take a backup and you can download the software by using MQTT protocol. You can download is some by GPRS and GSM kind of modules they are using, downloading the software and then upgrading their devices, right? So firmware now it's not that much firm, but in olden days, Once you have written a software into device means it's very difficult to erase, so you cannot erase directly, so you need some special kind of hardware to erase it. So that's why those are called firmware. So code is very firm, but now it's not like that. And software is like whatever your main code you are writing, right? So those are whatever you have camera application, you have audio application, so you can very easily remove that software your own, you no need of any specialist. Okay, you can uninstall, you can install, right? So the term firm refers to the software which is stored in the special type of read-only memory such as EPROM or EEPROM, the electrically erasable version, where the stored software is firm. Okay. Special techniques are required to erase or update the software in olden days. Okay. But now, if your software got some issue, right? You are facing some issue with your software, then you can download the software and you can erase the current software and you can update to new software. Okay. So firmware is typically used as low-level software that operates a specific single-purpose device like TV, washing machine, AC, remote, and etc. In olden days, firmware was very difficult to update, but nowadays it is very simple. That is what we have discussed. Okay, because of in olden days very less memory being used, but nowadays memory is cheaper, so we can use uh, more memory, and we can do all the upgrading operations. And uh, this hardware also evolved, and lot of different variants of hardware also came. Olden days you have EEPROM and those things, right? And there is no OS involved in the firmware. When I say firmware, when I am writing a firmware, so there won't be any OS, operating system will not be there. Directly you are writing code for the hardware. So then when there is no operating system, that system is called bare metal system. Okay, it is a bare metal system. Hope you understood. So I am introducing all the terminologies, which is by seeing the terminology, we feel it is something different, but it's not different. So those are very simple, but terminologies looks very different. Okay. Software. Now, if I see any, if I write some software, and that software will be stored into, let me show you this. Okay. So here I have written some code. Let's say this is the code I have written, test.exe. So this is actually now a file which is stored in my hard disk. Okay, this is the file which is stored in my hard disk. I have written this code, I compiled it, so I got this. So now this file is stored into my hard disk. Okay, it is not executing. If I want to execute, I have to execute manual. Now it is loaded into the RAM, executed, and when it is done, right, it is exited. Okay, now again this file is there only, this file is permanently to be stored into your file system, means devices file system, or in your hard disk it is permanently stored. Whenever you are loading, whenever you are executing, that time it is loading into the RAM. Executing means all the instructions will be executed by your CPU. Once done, done the code, but your binary is always stored into the memory, means hard disk. Okay, so here, until upon to execute, the program files are embedded the program files for embedded software are present in the device's file system, means your hard disk file system, or in your internal memory file system, it will be stored. At this point, the microprocessor executes the executable code which is loaded into the device's random access memory. So you have here CPU, you have CPU, you have here let's say internal memory, maybe MMC, I say eMMC. This is internal memory. This is you can see the term memory. Okay, this is internal memory eMMC, and you have here RAM. So RAM is volatile, right? So once you reboot your phone, whatever there in RAM, that will be flushed out, cleared. It will be zero. But whatever there in your internal memory, it will be there. Means whatever 64 GB you say, right, in your phone, that is internal memory. So the code is written into whatever binary you have. That binary is placed into this EMMC means internal memory, uh, embedded multimedia card. Okay, this is nothing but. So it is stored into this particular hardware, and whenever you are loading, means let's say camera application, I want to execute the camera application. When you just press the camera icon, it will be loaded from your internal memory to RAM. So when it is loaded into the RAM, right, your processor will come to know through program code. There is one register, program counter register. It will this program counter register will be loaded with the starting address. So when CPU gets the starting address, the CPU will take all the further instructions and execute. So that is how it will get executed. Okay. So processor job is to just process the instructions, whatever instructions are loaded into the RAM. Typically, the embedded software implements higher level functionalities and features of the device, like whatever camera application, music player application, or whatever your this PPT, right? PowerPoint presenter application. This is also one of the application. Word is also one of the applications. Browser is one of the applications. All these are the applications will be these are general purpose applications, but in embedded also, in mobile phone also, you will have similar kind of applications, right? So software, since they are highly sophisticated, embedded software can be overwritten using high level programming languages, C, C++, Java. Whatever you have written in C, you can implement in C++, you can implement the same thing in Java, Python, JavaScript. It's not like specific thing I can do only in C program, specific thing I can do only in Java. It's not like that. Some software you are writing means you can write that software in any programming languages. Okay. Only thing is what kind of APIs you have to implement, what kind of logic you have to embed. Logic is same, but only way of implementation is different. Okay. So so why your applications now you have a Android device. So Android device, all the applications are written in Java. Okay, most of the applications are written in Java. Very few applications will be written in C++. Those are backend daemons, we can say. But applications most of the time written in Java, C Sharp, or some in JavaScript. Okay, in some high level language it will be written. Why? Because those languages will provide lot of APIs. So it will be very easy to develop the applications by using the high level languages. But if you want to do the same thing, let's say I want to create one window. So if I want to create one window in C programming language, I have to write everything from scratch. Everything I have to write from scratch. So it will take a lot of time to create only one window. But in Java, you have a window API. So you can directly use a class, window class, and you can create the windows. Okay, very simple, means it won't take much time, half an hour you can do that complete thing. Okay, but if you want to do the same thing in C, it will take a lot of time. And the same thing if you want to do in assembly also you can do. Ultimately it has to convert it into assembly code and then machine code. You can do in assembly also, but again that will take a lot of time. So that's why you have these many languages, which makes our developer life easy to develop or implement anything. Okay, so ultimate goal of any device is for the user. Any application you have to develop for the user. In modern devices, there is an operating system involved, such as Android and Linux. These are the operating systems. Okay. Yeah. So what is the difference between firmware application and firmware driver? Most of the places you can say firmware, but there are two categories of firmware again. So now, as I said, you like printf, scanf, you can write a common API in your driver, so that whichever application you are writing, let's say I have one chip, I have an STM32 chip. I can use that chip for some purpose. Some other guy can develop on the same chip. He can develop, maybe he will use some, he wants to, he is writing some APIs, or he is writing some application for the I2C peripheral. I am also writing some API for the I2C peripheral. We both are doing. So what we can do with I2C, read and write only we can do with I2C. Okay, there are some communications, master and slave communication only we can do. I also can do the same thing. That guy also can be, he can also do the same thing. When we both can do the same thing, why do we need to develop separately, myself and himself? Instead of that, We can have a one driver, some APIs implemented, and those APIs can be used by multiple applications. Those APIs can be used by multiple applications. So that is what. Uh, so don't feel that driver means something big. So it's very simple, common API implementation you are doing for the application guy. So if you make use of any embedded components like SD card, flash memory, or any embedded devices, if you want to make use of it, we need a driver to communicate with it. We need a driver to communicate with it. So it is also called as a low level driver. Don't get confused with LLD and LDD. So LLD is nothing but low level driver. LDD means Linux device driver. That is different and this is different. Low level driver is nothing but firmware drivers. Okay. It is also called as a low level driver, which is written to update and configure specific registers of the peripherals. So if you are not writing this, the same thing you have to implement in your application. But if you have written this, then you have made application developers' life simple. Okay. Yeah. And firmware applications. Firmware applications, so you will just use or call a specific APIs of the firmware driver, and you can get the task done. Whatever application you want to write, right? You can write your application based upon these driver APIs, firmware driver APIs. Okay. The same thing. What you just need to specify which register and which bit of the register you want to modify. That is enough. Okay. The driver guy will take care about it. Okay. Yeah. So these both will comes into firmware. Then now this is very important. If you go to any interview, almost all these topics are very confusing topics. So focus more and try to understand. So, yeah. So this you everybody knows. I know that, but still many people fail to answer these questions. Okay. So storage classes, important keyword. So we are discussing about the storage classes. Before discussing the storage classes, let's so you have a virtual memory and physical memory. Physical memory is nothing but your RAM. Virtual memory is nothing but virtual. That is not real. Okay. So I told you, right? So 32 bit. If your buses are able to carry 32 bit, then you can have a address range from 0 to 2 to power of 32 minus 1. This address range you can have. Okay. 000, we can write like this: 000 to 2 to power of 32 minus 1. That is the address range we can have. So these addresses are called as virtual addresses. So when you compile your code, let me show you this. Let me see. So when you compile your code here, you can see so you can see some addresses. So these addresses are generated when you have compiled. Whenever you have compiled, that time only. So if I take, so I have used the nm command actually, nm, okay, mnemonic command, and there is another command obj dump minus d means disassembly, and that file if I take binary file, then you can see the instructions. These are your assembly instructions and corresponding virtual addresses. These are the virtual addresses. So these addresses are generated at compile time only. We say virtual addresses will be are logical, or those addresses are also called as logical addresses. So we say these addresses are generated by the CPU. It is not exactly correct, partially correct. Okay. CPU will not generate any addresses. CPU job is to only perform the or process the instructions. Whatever instructions given to CPU, CPU will just process that instruction. So how it will process means, in this addresses you are giving means your program counter will be loaded with this particular address, then it will come one by one instructions and it will take all the instructions and execute it. Okay. Okay, so these virtual addresses are divided into, so this is called C memory layout, that is divided into some four categories. So code or text section, data section, heap section, and stack section. So why do we need these sections means, I have a code, so code has to be stored into some section. Means code has to be some differentiated, right? So instructions are, code is nothing but instructions. Means if you have written C is equal to A plus B, then that is instruction. So that comes into code. Okay, but if you have declared some variables, and if you have declared some pointers and some allocating some memory, right? So those are all called in, all comes into data. So there are two categories, data and code. So when I say code, those are instructions. Data means some variables or some dynamically allocated memory, those are data. So now this data will be stored in these places and code will be stored into these places. Now if you see, I can have this whatever test.exe I have, right? So this particular program, test.exe, this particular program is all, even if I reboot my system, it will be there. Okay, it will not be erased. But data, if I update some variable into this, those variables, whatever changes I have done, that changes will not be there, right? When I reboot my system. So this part of code, this part of the memory will be refreshed, but this will not be refreshed. So this is mapped to your ROM or flash memory, you can say. This particular, okay, so this is mapped to your flash, okay, your flash memory, which is RAM. And I will say no only this RO data also, read only data also mapped to flash, and all other things will be mapped to your RAM. So there are two types of memory, right? Internal memory and or you can say physical memory and secondary memory, right? So this is called physical memory and this is secondary memory or internal memory, this is flash. So here these two RO data and code will be stored into this, and remaining thing will be stored into RAM. But we are dividing our whole memory into these four sections. So this whatever division we are doing division for virtual memory. Okay. So these whatever virtual addresses are there here, we have seen those virtual addresses, right? These virtual addresses are mapped to the physical addresses. Means once your code is loaded into the RAM, so wherever it is loaded, right? So these addresses are mapped to the addresses wherever it is loaded. Okay, so it is again big topic, so I won't go in deep now. So but you assume that C memory layout is a stack section, heap section, data section, and code or text section. Okay, you forget about code and text section because code and instructions will be stored into this code section. We will focus only on these three sections. Okay, and you have a CPU. In CPU memory, what is memory of CPU means registers. Registers only can hold the data in CPU. Okay, yeah. So now storage classes. We have four different storage classes: auto, register, static, and external. And all these four different storage classes differs in four parameters: scope, storage. First of all, storage. And what is the scope? Scope means till what extent you can access it, and lifetime means till what extent that particular variable will be alive. Okay, means alive means memory, till what time the memory will exist for that variable, and which initial value will be stored into that particular variable, this type of variable. So when I say auto will be stored into stack, and its scope is within a block. Means wherever you declared that, in that place only it will be present. Okay, you can access in that place only. Means scope is within a block, and life also within this block. Once you come out of this block, this particular variable will be destroyed. Means that memory will be destroyed for that variable. So that is life, and initial value is garbage. Okay, Why it is garbage, we will discuss later. And register variable basically, in olden days, you have very less memory, and memory are not that much speed in olden days. So if your processor has to go and get the data from the memory, it will take lot of time, okay, in olden days memory. So what compiler use is been developed means, so a compiler will provide one sort of one storage class, that is a register storage class. Nowadays also it is available. A register storage class is there. If you declare any variable with a register storage class, then that variable will be stored in CPU register, in CPU register. So why, if you want to get this value, if CPU wants to get the value from the register, then it is very easy, very fast, because this is baby of, these registers are baby of CPU. Okay, but RAM is somewhere else. RAM is somewhere else, and if your processor has to go and get the value from the RAM, then it has to travel all the way and get the value, right? It will take some time. But CPU registers are not like that. So if you are declaring some for loop, if you are using some for loop, and in for loop you may be using ijk kind of variable, or more frequently accessible variables are there, that kind of variable you can, because you need to access more number of time, right? So that kind of variables you have to declare as a register variable, so that that will be stored in CPU register, and there won't be much burden on the CPU to access the data from that register variables. But CPU may be busy with this, means all these registers may be occupied by the CPU for other purpose. Then in that case, whenever you declared, means whenever this particular declaration occurred, right? So that time, if register is not available, then this particular variable will be stored into the stack itself. Okay, stack itself. So always, let's say this is my variable x, and if I want to get the address of that variable, we will go with ampersand x, right? So that is possible with all other storage classes, but not with register storage class. Why? Because these are not memory addresses, these are register. It will be denoted by names r0, r1, r2, r3, r15, denoted by some number, some name. So that's why you cannot get the register variable addresses. So ampersand x you cannot apply on this register variables, and everything is same. Within a, means scope is within block, life is also within block, and it holds garbage value. But stored into the register or stack, I have to modify this. It will be stored in register, and register is not available means it will be stored into stack. Okay. Yeah. Then static. This is very important keyword. Static. So static, again you have local static and global static. I'll take a lot of interviews and people will fail to answer most of the questions related to static. Static are local static and global static. If you are declaring within some block, those are local. If you are declaring outside of any function, those are global, means global variable you may be knowing, right? So local declaration means those are local static. Global, if you are declaring, means global static. But here you have to understand that this particular variable, static variable, will be stored into data section, and data section is once initialized section. So whenever you declare any variable, only one time it will be initialized. But stack, if you called one function, then for that function one stack will be created, and if you exited from the function, then that stack will be destroyed. But for that program, data section is always there. That's why its lifetime is throughout the program. Means memory will once initialize, means till your program is there, that memory will be there. It won't be uh, or destroyed and recreated. It is not like that for data section. Only for heap section, memory will be created and destroyed. When you call any function, memory will be created, a stack will be created for that. When you come out of the function, stack will be destroyed for that function. Okay, but program is collection of functions. For that program, this data section will be always present till your program is there in your memory. Till your program is there in memory means what? Now if I run my program, program executed and exited. But some programs, let's say Camera application here, let me put. So if I put while loop here, while one, if I put while loop, then is this program, uh, this program will not come out, right? This program will be always executing, continuously executing. Now if I run, it is continuously executing, it is not coming out. Okay, so that is till your program is there, till your program is running, this section will be there. So your static variable also will be present. So lifetime of static variable is throughout the program execution. But local static variable scope means where you can access, means within that function only you can access, outside of that function you cannot access. And global, you can access in all the functions. But what is the scope of it? Within that file. So when I write a program, I may write for a single program, I may write test, I may write test.c, test1.c, test2.c, test3.c. I can write multiple files for a single program. This is my single program. I will generate exe as test. But this program, single program, have multiple files. So if you have declared your static variable globally within this file, means you cannot access that static variable in any other files. So that provides the privacy for that variable. Okay, that is the use of static variable, static global variable. And extern. Extern is same as this. Here there is no local extern and global extern. Extern is same as this, but its scope is, means you can access in all other files. If you have declared extern variable, means globally if you have declared any variable, means you can access in any other file also, this file, any file also you can access of the program. So its scope is throughout the program, and life is throughout the program. Why? Because it is stored into data section, and data section is one time initialize section, and this will hold the zero value. Why it will hold zero, and why these guys will hold garbage? Why this partiality? Okay, they also belongs to C programming, right? They are not somebody else's uh, constructs. Okay, then why that partiality? So this is for to give the better performance only, to give the better performance. How means? So this is one time initialize. So whenever I am loading the program, so whenever, so now if I say just, if I just execute this, when I just enter it, right, this program is loaded. So whenever this program is loaded, that time it is not, still execution is not started, right? The program execution is not started. So whenever that program is loaded, these variables will be initialized with the zero, so that you should not get any malfunction value. Means if you are accidentally, if you are using those variables directly, let's say, you have declared int x globally, and here you have main program, and in main program you have declared some y is equal to x plus 20. Let's say you are doing like this. So accident, you are directly doing the operation on this, but you have not initialized any value. And if there is no value initialized with zero, then some garbage value will be there, right? So you will get some value which is not predefined, which is not defined. Okay, undefined value you will get here. So that is the problem. So this problem I can avoid by initializing this to zero. So again, if you are initializing with zero, so more number of instructions, means assembly instructions will be increased for this particular variable. If programmer will do this is equal to zero, if this is not possible and programmer has to explicitly do this, then more number of instructions will be generated. Okay, and this, your program loading itself will take some time. Okay, to avoid that, whenever you are loading, your system itself will initialize all the global variable and static variable with zero. Then you can do with this also, auto and register, but you are not doing this. Why? Because again, this is undefined, right? When you call that function, when you won't call that function, and that is runtime. Actually, that will happen. This will happen at runtime. This auto variable means stack creation will happen at runtime. So when it is happening runtime, and if you are just if your system will go and initialize all this with 0, then it will take time. Okay, and system will not be knowing that whether you have initialized that variable or not initialized that variable. System will not know that. So that's why these will have the garbage value. Why it will have garbage value means, let's say one stack is created. This is stack section, and for function one stack is created. Function one, you call the function one, stack is created, you exited from the function one, then stack destroyed. Again you call the function two. This, let's assume that same function, the same memory is allocated for function two. Then here when you call the function one, right, some memory will be there, some data might be there, something you have written here, right? So that you are not clearing out. So when you call function two, there may be 0 or there may not be 0. That's why garbage value may be present. So you are not going to clear it out. So that's why whenever you declare any local variable, you have to specifically initialize with 0. That is always good. But for some system you want better performance and you will take care about y later whenever you do some operation. That time, you, if you are really sure that I will take care about my code, then no need to declare. You can take care about this particular variable by initializing somewhere, something you may do, some a plus b or some x plus y, you do x plus 2 and you will get the value after some time. That is up to you. But with this you will get better performance compared to if you do just x is equal to 0 and same instruction, you will get little bit uh, performance wise little bit bad in this case, and you will get better performance in this case because number of instructions will be reduced. In this case, when you initialize is equal to 0, it will be increased. So how that happens, how that happens how that happens so basically, whatever memory you have, right, so we are saying that uh, uh, we will be having these sections. How these sections will be created, who will create, this is not magic, right? This is not magic. So whatever memory you have, so flash memory, flash is the guy who will start first. So flash memory, so here you are deciding what is the RAM size, what is the ROM size. So these are called linker script. These are called linker script. So for every program there will be a linker script which is compiler provided, and here you will be having what is the starting address, means virtual address, starting virtual address of your RAM, starting virtual address of your ROM, and what are the sections you want to have. Not only these sections, you will have n different number of sections, but these are the basic sections. That's why we will discuss about this. Okay, stack, heap, data, and code section. But you have this section also, ISR vector, and you see here this is text section. Okay, and this is RO data section. Okay, and somewhere you may see data section. Okay, somewhere may you see BSS section. So you have, right, this dot RO data, BSS dot data. So all these sections are created here. Okay, so this section, but where is the stack and heap? There is no stack and heap sections because your stack grows down and heap grows up. This is the starting address of your heap and this is the starting address of your stack.